I want to respect and honor everybody's time here. I want to treat this moment and this meet and greet tonight with the level of respect that it deserves and commands, given how important our football program is to our school and our community. I want to begin by saying that on November 20th, we started our search for a new head football coach. I thought we were fortunate and lucky to have 15 qualified applicants that included 4 head coaches, and we went through a very, very thorough process, and we ended up with our guy, which Coach Sue will introduce shortly. What I want to communicate to our parents is that please know that I remain very, very much committed to our football program. Not only ensuring its success, but ensuring that it's a positive program. There's open communication. There are the things that we talked about when we met about a month ago, both with our parents and our students. So I want you to know that I remain very committed to that. Please know that. I am here with you. The past month, my role has been one of really leaning in, actually the past 6 weeks, of evaluating things, going through surveys, making some tough decisions, forming a panel together, and helping and ultimately making a decision, right, for our future and the path that we're going to go in. Now my role is going to be one of extreme, severe support, if you will, because we want to ensure things are put in place here for the off season, spring, summer, and then our next football season, right? And that starts now, as I've said before. And we will all have a role to play in that. I'll talk more as we kind of just proceed together, right? We all have a role, and I think if we all get to play a part in our role, we are going to ensure a very successful season, not just for next year, but years to come. Lastly, I want to make sure to thank members that helped through with this process. President and parent, president of our booster club, Mr. Matt Shy. We can give him a round of applause today. Thank you so much. Coach Sue has been a big part of this process. Mr. Kobion over there, he's been a big part of this process, so I want to thank those gentlemen. And then thank you for being here tonight. Now, as important as the football, the cheer program are important to me, so is choir. And choir tonight, we have a Bonita Christmas to you. So after this, I gotta head on over there. If you want to talk to me, come see me at Eastlake at around 8:30ish, 9 when it ends. But that program is also, the BMD program, very important to me. So just want to thank you again for being here. Oh yeah, the last thing that I want to say is we wanted to set up this as a town hall, if you will. Again, the idea of valuing open communication. I encourage you to ask our new coach questions, right? Questions that you may have about who he is, his leadership, his experience, and then our upcoming season. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to Coach Sue for our big moment here. Here we go.
Thank you, Dr. Salazar. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. It means a great deal to see the support and pride this community has for Bonita Vista High School and its football program. Tonight, I am excited to officially introduce our new head varsity football coach, Coach Deontay Lee. Coach Lee is a leader of men and women. This will be his first head coaching position, and it is an opportunity he has earned through years of dedication, strong leadership, and the respect he has built within the football community. He comes highly recommended by those who have worked closely with him and know the type of impact he has on young people. Coach Lee is a great communicator and is well-versed in all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. More importantly, he understands that high school football is about more than wins and losses. It's about relationships, accountability, discipline, and developing young men of character. He brings tremendous enthusiasm and energy, and he is already in the process of assembling a knowledgeable and seasoned coaching staff that shares his vision and commitment to excellence. Together, they are focused on building a program that our players, families, alumni, and community can be proud of. We are confident that Coach Lee will lead with integrity, passion, and purpose, and that Bonita Vista football is in very good hands moving forward. Please join me in giving a warm, barren welcome to our new head varsity football coach, Coach Deontay Lee.
First and foremost, I want to thank Dr. Salazar, obviously, for opening up the doors of this institution for me to be here, be a representative of the football program and the school and the Bonita community at large. I want to thank Matt. I want to thank Leo. I want to thank all the members of the panel, Coach Zaragoza, everybody who was kind of parted with their time to vet me and make sure that I represented some of the things that you guys have reflected that you would like to see this program to become. And for this school to be, and for all of its forward-facing programs to kind of reflect in this community. And most importantly, I want to thank you guys for partnering with your time midweek to hear me out, to open up your ears to what I have planned for this program. In respect to your time and with regards to efficiency, I'll try not to be long-winded here because I'm sure that I'm just as interested in hearing what you guys have to say as you guys are what I have to say. So without further ado, I would just like to drop into this PowerPoint and kind of give you guys an overview of what it is that I think the Bears football needs to be for us to be our best selves in 2026 and beyond.
We need to first make this official, Coach. There you go.
I got to do a little bit of work on the break, but I think this will do it. All right. Jump in here. I'll just give you a little bit of a brief overview of myself first. I'm a San Diego native, born and raised in Lemon Grove. Kind of spent my entire life in that area outside of my time in college, which was in Sacramento. Like a lot of your kids, I'm sure, I was a multi-sport athlete all the way up through the high school level, track and field and football. And through that, I was given an opportunity to go play on scholarship at Sacramento State University. Did that for 3 years. Health and some other circumstances didn't really work out in my favor, so I dropped that in favor of focusing on my academics. Up there, I was studying, double majoring actually in journalism and political science, which kind of feeds into the career that I have today, which is working in sports media for a subsidiary of Spotify called The Ringer. With that kind of allows me to be on campus, to be present, so that way your guys' kids, and you guys, if you're ever interested, can come get access to me in the coach's office at any time. And I'm passionate about football, man. And as we go through this slideshow, I want to, as we speak about the layers of it, the thing that I was thinking about on the drive over is that for all the cascading effects of your off-season training program, how we build relationships with players, our scheme, how we build the staff, all of this really just pours into like this inverted funnel where at the end point, it's just about the development of your young sons, your daughters that are around the program, and really just entire community. So I hope that that's reflected in what we're talking about today. I won't bore you with all the details of resume, right? But we can just kind of talk about my last stop before we jump into some other things. Spent about a half decade at Mount Carmel High School as a defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach, worked with linebackers at different times. And you can kind of see, if you're into the hard data, you can see some of our growth. In 2018 and 2019, those were the 2 years before we got installed there as a staff. So they had some struggles defensively. We were able to step right in 2021 and 2022 and really make some changes with how we play defense, right? And I think that's a reflection of culture. That's a reflection of getting kids to buy in. That's a reflection of, coming in 2021, we're fresh off of, shelter-in-place orders and really being able to open things up and start to get back to football in the fall. And these are a lot of kids who are looking at a lot of new faces in terms of their coaches and really having to be able to jump in, learn how they learn, install something that they're comfortable with, and be able to go out and execute that. if you're a football guy, I'm sure you guys have heard splash plays, havoc plays, different people categorize it different ways. When I was a defensive coordinator, that was a big focus of mine, right? Trying to get guys plays. I always make the refrain, do something that's going to get you on TV on Friday night, right? I'm always talking to the players. I want you to be rushing out of the locker room after we win to get home at the start of PPR so you can see yourself making an impact on winning, right? And we were definitely able to accomplish that early on at Mount Carmel. We had a lot of all-league players. It's not about the names, but I am proud of some of their accomplishments beyond playing for me at Mount Carmel. Probably our best player at that time, Jaden Virgin, is still at Boise State playing outside linebacker. Really proud of him and his development. Derek Parham was a track kid running track now at Weber State. Our defensive tackle, Elias Kidishay, went to Cal Lutheran. He was playing football there for a little bit. And there's a host of others who went on to play at Palomar, at Mesa, that may have dropped football but went on to a four-year university, and they come back for their homecoming and senior nights to see their siblings, to see people that they grew up with. And I appreciate that to a man. They all want to give our staff hugs. I wanted to give our staff hugs and let them know that the experience that they had while they were with us helped propel them to be the best version of themselves as young adults. So I kind of want to start by going over a couple of bullet points. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but if you guys kind of want to look at the screen as I speak, please feel free to do so. A big thing for me is defining toughness in a way that's tangible, defining hard work in a way that's tangible, right? I'm not asking anybody to suffer. Now, part of being a team sports player, part of being a great student athlete is to endure, right? And just making sure that we ask them to endure things productively and constructively, right? So there will be workouts where we are pushing them to their limits, right? Not to break them down, but to show them that they can push themselves past whatever threshold they're at and get to the other side of that and see what kind of growth potential they have from there, right? Because of my career and being exposed to a lot of people who are at the college and NFL level, I get to pick up little tidbits, right? And I was in Los Angeles for mini camp this past summer. And I was sitting in front of Sean McVay, and he was kind of talking off the record to some guys. And they were just kind of talking about culture and team building perspective. And he said something that really stuck with me, and it shows in his bullet point. One of the remarks he made is that to be a good Los Angeles Ram, there are many guidelines, right? And I was talking to the players about this earlier today. There are several guidelines that are necessary for you to be a great student athlete, for you to be a productive student, for you to be a positive member of your community. But we really only have 3 rules, and all of our guidelines kind of feed back to 3 core rules. I just ask guys to show up, to work hard, and have a positive attitude. And for me in life, about 85% of your problems can be solved by meeting those 3 things each day, right? And I want to make sure that we're imparting that on our young players as they matriculate up through this program. And the last bullet point I'll read verbatim, because it's a big belief of mine. For us as coaches and leaders, we establish culture. They're all players enact that culture, and then the entire community and program enforces and reinforces that culture. So it's a cyclical effect, right? They're looking at me to get instruction on what they need, what I expect of them. From there, I expect them to turn around and tell each other and hold themselves to that standard. And then once everybody sees that that's the way that we're running this program, it's my belief that now we just kind of got a great ecosystem where I don't have to stop every day to reinforce these things. And when I do bring it up, it's not news, right? Because they've heard it from me before, they've heard it from our other staff before, and people along campus can kind of adopt those principles as well to be a great reflection of the football program and what we want to do. Again, I'll just kind of breeze over some of these things. This is what we have planned on the left as far as the immediate future, and then going forward, and I'm sure parents, you guys will have some things to say, maybe some recommendations, some feedback I'd be interested to hear. On the left-hand side, we've got some of our plans in terms of speaking with players. So I want to have an exit interview, whether you're a senior and on the way out, or you're a freshman and was your first time ever playing a team sport, right? I want to get to know their experience with you guys. What's their family setup like? What's their family dynamic like? Were you born and raised in the Chula Vista and the Bonita area, or are you new here, right? I want to know your aspirations academically and athletically, as far as what the immediate future holds and then where you want to get to. And I was talking to the players about this earlier as well, right? Being a former player, being a coach now, I was a former educator. I worked as a paraprofessional in special education for about 4 or 5 years. I kind of seen, I won't say I've seen it all, right? I won't betray my age and say that I've seen it all, but I think I've experienced enough, and more importantly, I have great mentorship on my side, right? My father's been working in football as long as I've been alive, basically. I was mentored by Ray Wells when I was at Mount Miguel, who was the former 49er, played at the University of Arizona. He kind of took me under his wing when I was in high school. When I got to college, my linebackers coach was Andy Avalos, who's now the defensive coordinator at TCU. So I've been very blessed and fortunate to be around people who have done things at a high level who can speak to that. at all times. Our head coach, Drew Wessling, at Mount Carmel before I got here, is a former college quarterback. And he can impart information to me and to our players. I try to borrow from that as much as possible. So even if I'm not saying, hey, Deontay went through this, so you can do X, Y, or Z, I can tell you an experience that I've heard, that I've seen, that I've learned from, and we can try to impart that on our young people so that way they know how to kind of walk their walk in life as football players and beyond. I want to breeze over academic support, and I wanted to put this closer to the top in meeting with Coach Sue and Dr. Salazar and speaking with some of the players on campus, talking to some of the coaches. Some are staying, some are departing, about what a big priority it was and things that may not have been met in terms of academic support, some of the time constraints that came with the program building with the past regime. I want to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just here for the hours of practice in the weight room and then I go home and the kids are left to their own devices from there. To me, I feel like I'm a walking testament of what great academic support through all of your extracurriculars can do. I was a smart kid. I was not the most diligent student growing up. It took me a while, really until my junior year of high school, to understand the full picture. And then once I got it, everything kind of started rolling very smoothly. And it's my hope, because of that experience and because of what's available here, I think that Bonita Vista is very uniquely positioned to give you a high level of education as a public high school. As an IB school, that's a rarity to begin with. You still have a fully comprehensive AP program and an honors program here. You can do great with your foreign languages. If you want to get into health science, there's a comprehensive program for that. All of your core subjects teachers, I love just walking the halls and seeing what's printed out in their windows, where they went to school and where they got certificated at. You can get a high level of education here, and it's not my job as a football coach to portray that. So first and foremost, to be a good football player, to be a good student athlete, the classroom's got to be handled, and we already have an apparatus here that works. I have a relationship with Mr. Steve Wiggs from the last time I was here as an assistant, and I plan on leaning on that as a support system for us. Obviously, having Coach Hillard, who has a large classroom, he's already offered that up to us to be able to use in season and out of season if we need kids to come sit down and get peer-led tutoring, go sit with their instructors and get the help they need. And it's my job to make sure that I have both eyes on what's happening outside of how well a kid can tackle, how well he can cover, how well he can catch the ball. And it's my plan to do that. And when guys have needs, I'm going to be present and let them know, A, what the standard is for them academically, and then B, what my job is to support them. And I want to make sure if you guys are reaching out to me and saying, hey, this kid's got a big midterm coming up, it's kind of a concern of mine, you've got some missed assignments, it's turning into a concern of mine, what can you do as a football coach to remind them of how important that is? Know that you're reaching out to somebody to support them on the other side of it and see it the same way that you do. All right, we're going to talk about player development, program development. I'll try to talk in more broad sweeping terms so that way we don't get too caught up in the nitty-gritty of it, and all of it's going to be reflected in the slideshow. For me, being somebody who used to work in education and is going to be working in education now, and as an appendage of education, as a coach, it is really important to me to know how players learn, right? It's all different, right? You get varying degrees of how people can accept information, how they internalize information, how they spit it back out to you, whether or not they can enact what you're teaching them. And it's our job as a staff, and one of my big priorities is building out a big enough staff, an experienced enough staff, where everybody can be perceptive about how kids learn, and we can teach the game to them in a way that's digestible, in a way that they can go out and repeat, and so that way we can develop them as athletes. It's not just a collection of plays and our kids being lines on a piece of paper or on a chalkboard. That's really not my goal here. I know STEAM, I'm not just here to coach STEAM. I want to teach the game if they're going to play the game. It'd be the same if I was here as a basketball coach. Speed and power to me is the definition of a good football player. And I was talking to them about what we want to do in the weight room. It's my belief that all the power you generate, everything you need to be a great athlete, is about what you can generate from the ground up. And everything that we're going to do is going to have that as a focus, right? And I've got a chance to learn through my strength and conditioning coaches. I was in college talking with people, doing my own independent research. We're going to have a combination of concentric force and eccentric force, if you guys know what those terms mean, right? How we can control something going down, how violently we can move something going up, right? We want to make sure that we're attacking that from both layers, because I find that that not only makes you faster, bigger, stronger, more athletic, it also makes you a lot less susceptible to soft tissue injuries, to bone injuries, right? And a big piece of strength and conditioning is not how happy our players are when they look in the mirror and see biceps and triceps and traps and delts. It's It's them knowing when we get to week 8, even though I'm not 100%, I'm not at any additional risk to break down because now I'm stressing muscles and tendons in my body that haven't been addressed, right? And I know that that was a big priority for our players. Everybody who's come by the office and said, Coach, what are we doing in the offseason? Are we going to be in the weight room? Are we going to lift? Are we going to lift in season? What's the summer look like? And I'm happy to let you guys know that we have a plan for it. This is just kind of like a map of what I believe is our responsibility as coaches, as teachers, and what we want to get out of the players, right? So we want to illustrate what we need. We want to speak clearly about what we do. We want to teach the why in what we're doing, whether it's lifting, whether it's our sprint work, whether it's our conditioning, whether it's installing an offense, defense, or special teams plan. We want to talk in concepts to the players or amongst coaches, and then by the time we get it to the players, we want them to learn it in short intervals, right? The biggest priority is to try to teach it in a way where a player feels like it's a binary. Even if there are layers to it, I want all of your sons when they're lining up on the field feeling like, because we prepared, because I worked on the technique, because my coach taught me why and the how and the what I'm doing, I feel like as long as I see the stimulus that I'm looking for, I know exactly how to react. That's how you build fast, confident, football players. Together, football players that work together in concert to accomplish those goals. I won't go over every last piece of this. I just kind of wanted to use this as an illustration of the kind of detail that we want to apply to our player development program, right? There's science to this, right? If you want to lift to get stronger, there are certain thresholds you have to push towards. There are certain percentages of your maxes that you want to work towards. As you raise those percentages, the reps go down. The form becomes more important, right? And we want to talk about pushing to those thresholds. If you've worked out, at a high level, you might have heard of something like RPE, right? What is the experience for you? How difficult is it when you finish your lift? We're going to talk to our players about that. Hey, on a scale to 10, how did those back squats feel? How did that power clean feel? And that's going to give me a gauge of how close they are to breaking that threshold. And we will have plans for our primary exercises, our secondary exercises. We're going to talk about Olympic lifts, right? We're coming back to those concentric force types of exercises and how we can use those to better our athletes. This is kind of a sketched out version of what our winter workout plan will be. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is the goal to be in the weight room. I was just talking with Coach Sheffield when I was at the office earlier today. I know that he can be an asset to us with our program. I kind of want to talk to him about how we can add what I would like to do to what he's already doing effectively to create the best version of it. We're going to have 2 strength training days where we're really working on, our menu of our core lifts, and then our auxiliary lifts, our secondary lifts that help those. And then Friday, we're really going to focus on our explosiveness. That's what power means to me, right? Our jumps training, our short area quickness, how fast we can move in 10-yard increments, how fast we can move in 15 to 20-yard increments, et cetera, and so on. When we get to spring and summer, now we're adding layers, right? Now we're adding layers. In the winter, we're really trying to get those max numbers up, so to speak. Once we get to the spring and summer, now it's about application. We're going to take that strength, and now we want to add layers to it. We want to get to our lunge matrices. We want to get to different ways to use rows. We want to start building up that soft tissue, the soft muscle memory, the muscle memory in your soft tissue, so that way when you are moving quickly, when you have to react, right? If your body is out of position on the field, we have worked the muscles so that way they're not stressed once we get to installing the things that are going to make you a good football player. Very month, I'll let the players know it's a longer conversation for a different day. We don't do tryouts, we don't do cut down days. I told the players that the month of July, before we get to fall camp, is where we punch our ticket to be football players in season. And we'll talk about exactly what that means from a workout perspective, but I need everybody to be here for every workout day. But certainly when we get to Berry Month, our freshmen are starting to matriculate in, and we've got our full program, and we're gearing up for the regular season. We are going to be 5 to 6 days a week, going as hard as we can to get ourselves mentally, physically, and emotionally conditioned to be able to handle the rigors, not just the football season, but being able to handle what it's going to be on a day-to-day basis, being a student athlete. And this is an idea of what we're doing. Again, more layers, our power, our speed, our agility. We're going to work our skill work, our conditioning. We're going to be on the field for this work as well. So all of these different ways that we plan to attack it to make a full body 360-degree strength and conditioning program to make our players better. This is what we plan to do in season, right? There are 2 layers, or excuse me, there's multiple layers. I'll say there's 3 layers to your in-season workout plan. Number 1, where you want to work away from injuries. So active recovery is a big piece of it. You want to continue to hold whatever threshold you're at in terms of strength, right? A lot of the players kind of noted that they felt like they weren't as strong as the season wore on. Some of that's natural wear and tear. Some of that is just a lack of maintenance. They're not in the weight room with intention trying to get guys and keep guys as strong as they already are. And then when we get to Thursday and Friday, a lot of our work in the weight room or, out on yoga mats, whatever the case may be, is going to be about activating, those muscles that do turn into tendon injuries, those soft tissue injuries. We're going to really work to try to avoid that in everything that we do. From a practice perspective, this is exactly how we plan to attack things, right? Another remark that I've heard from our AD, from our principals, from some of our players, and maybe some of the parents reflect this as well, were opportunities that Bonita Vista has had over the last couple of years to be successful in key moments, maybe because of a lack of preparation, because of a lack of attention to details, not getting over the top. Again, through my own experience, being at the college level and talking with NFL and college level coaches, everything gets segmented out. Not to be menial for menial's sake, but because you never know what situation you're going to be faced with, and you'd always rather be over-prepared than under, right? So on Mondays, we're going to talk about our first and second down plan. So Coach Bigley, who's going to be our offensive play caller, I'm going to be asking him on Saturday and Sunday, and what are going to be our top 5 runs? What are our top 5 play action passes? What are our top 5 screens this week? How do we plan to attack the fronts we're going to get? What are their top 5 blitzes? How do we want to take advantage of those? When I'm talking to my defensive coordinator, the question is going to be, hey, what's going to be our top runs? Do we need to have a special adjustment when they show up in 3-by-1? Do they show up in bunches? Do they get empty? What is our plan of attack for that? Do we want to be more aggressive? Is this a week where we're breaking our tendencies? Or are we really going to lean into what our identity already is, right? And that's going to be reflected in our plan of attack all week. Tuesday is going to be a field zone and a heavy special teams day. Field zone for me means, hey, we're going in, meaning we're at the plus 30 to the plus 11. What are our best plays, knowing that we have all 4 downs to convert to try to get the ball into that goal-to-go situation or get a big chunk play where we can go score off of it, right? If we're a defense, hey, sudden change. Offense is having a great job. We had an unfortunate fumble. We got to jump on the field. What's our plan of attack there, right? If there's an opportunity for us as a defense to turn that right back around and give ourselves an opportunity to score. And then special teams. For us, at Mount Carmel, before I got here, I would say in 2025, we were excellent on special teams in a way that we hadn't been. And I'm bringing our assistant, who was a specialist in that, over here with us to Bonita Vista, and we're going to talk about the best ways to approach our special teams. How we want to work kickoff, rugby punt, spread punt, our shield punts, how we want to work our kickoff returns, the importance of starting field position in that process, right? All of those things are going to be covered on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to kind of slow down a little bit. It becomes a big learning day, right? What's going to happen on third down? What's going to happen in the red zone? What's going to happen in goal line situations? When defenses and offenses get hyper-specific, because you only get a handful of plays in those situations, right? It's a matchup thing. If we've got a great X receiver, okay, let's make sure that that guy is a part of whatever we're doing. I want the defense to be breaking their huddle concern. Hey, where's number 4? Where's number 5? Where's number 6 at? If our quarterback is a run threat, I want to use his legs more in that area of the field than any other time, because that equates to numbers for us. And now we're playing 11 on 11 football, and that gives us an advantage. Defensively, I want to take away their best players. And to me, identity-wise, on the defensive end, if you guys are NFL fans and you watch the Texans, that's how we play. And I was telling the players, right, like, I take a lot of pride in that side of the ball. There's really no other way to say it. I want our opponents to feel like every snap is going to hurt. By the end of the play, somebody's going to be hurt. Because we're getting out of our stance, we're striking blocks the right way, we're finishing with great tackles, we're running to the football, we are trying with all our might to force a turnover. I want quarterbacks, when they walk up to the line of scrimmage, to be shuttered. I want linebackers, when they are lining up against our offensive line, to be worried. Where is the double team that's climbing up to get me? I want 3 techniques to be worried. Here comes another double team that I can't handle, right? I want safeties to be thinking, man, they're going to make me fit the run. It's not 7-on-7 anymore. I got to show up. And then the moment they start doing that, we will have layers within our game plan to take advantage of their overreactions to the things that we do best, right? And that's what we're going to be working on throughout practice. This is kind of a chart that gives an example of how we plan to warm up so that when we get full body activation, some of you guys are probably already familiar with some of these exercises, right? Going through our lunges, right? We're going through our hip rotations. We're going through our RDLs to activate our hamstrings. Talking about our Frankensteins to really start moving that posterior chain up and down. We've got our quad pulls, all of those types of things. When we're in the weight room, we've got half of this, which is non-weighted, just body weight, right? Our inchworms, our Spider-Mans, our rollbacks, everything to work the back of our body and get everything prepared so that way we can be the best versions of ourselves. We've got our jumping jacks. Then when we get into the weighted piece of it, we've got shoulder shrugs, we've got pistol squats, we've got our glute bridges, we've got our crossover squats or our curtsy lunges, whatever terminology you work with. We've got our hockey lunge or our lateral lunge, whatever terminology you're familiar with. And that's how we get prepared to work in the weight room. This is kind of our menu, right? To me, these are the core types of lifts, things that we're never gonna betray. We're always gonna work one of these two presses in terms of the upper body. It's gonna be overhead press, it's gonna be bench press. And not just we're getting underneath the bar and we're just throwing it up and down, up and down, up and down, and then saying we did something. Everything is going to be intentional. I want elbows tight, right? Because when we're taking off blocks, when we're making blocks, that's where we're at, right? We're gonna work an incline. So that we're working the right side, the right part of our pecs, so we can be explosive with our hands. It's not just about having big biceps and big triceps, right? When we get into our back squat, we're gonna talk about the right way to do it. When we get into our front squat, we're gonna talk about why it's important to have both, right? The stability you get down your abs, to your adductors, to your quads when you're doing a front squat. And in everything for me, we will always have a deadlift, some variation of deadlift in everything we do. It's just proven out that if you wanna be a great explosive athlete, you've gotta generate power from the ground. Deadlift to me is the most complete lift to do so. So we're gonna have some kind of variation of that. You can kind of see when we want to work with gains, 20 to 30 rep range with these exercises. To me, that's the most efficient way to get to that. And then in our secondary lifts, we're going to have a row matrix. So it might be pin leg row. It might be bent over, our different kind of bent over rows. We could have dumbbell rows. I'm not as partial to those, right? Because it's very easy to just get set up, hunched over, and now you're just kind of starting to leaf blower, right? So we're going to talk about the right technique with that. Lunge matrix, I love those because it involves the abs as well as your lower body. It's about controlling weight up and down, right? That's a very powerful lift for me. You have our pull-ups, our dips, our push-ups. To me, those are great benchmark setters, right? We're gonna have big guys. Big guys don't do pull-ups with us. But there are ways to kind of modify, to adapt these exercises, and to set those as benchmarks. If I can get guards and tackles to complete a handful of pull-ups, that means that they've got enough full body strength to go move somewhere. Right? If I got a defensive tackle who can complete some pull-ups, I'm probably not gonna have to worry about him taking on a double team. And that's what we're gonna try to work towards. These are some of our additional lifts. So I kind of mentioned our Olympic lift circuit. And I'm not saying that we're gonna train to be Olympic lifters. We're not gonna do snatches, right? We're not gonna do the overhead full snatches, right? Our push jerks are not gonna be at extreme weights. Our power cleans and pull cleans aren't gonna be at extreme weights all the time. But we are gonna use them, again, to introduce our athletes to some of the concentric force principles that help make you more explosive. And that's gonna add to their threshold. And then we're gonna have our jumps, which help our speed, our agility, and all of those types of things. And then on the left, I call them vanity lifts, right? Because that's the ones that all the players wanna go do in the mirror, in the weight room, right? I wanna go do my 3 sets of 10 on curls. I wanna go do skull crushers. I wanna do my tricep extensions. I wanna do my shoulder shrugs, all of that, right? You get kind of the instant gratification pretty quickly with those lifts, but they have utility for us, right? They have utility for us. It's just building body weight, right? If we can get our arms, our chest, our shoulders great, I can tell my running back, when you throw that stiff arm, it's gonna feel a little bit different, right? At the end of the strength program. When we're pressing, right? If our corners are committed to their upper body lifts, now when you're pressing, when you throw that offhand jam on somebody, that's really gonna be a brake pad for you in a way that it might not have been a year ago. And then here's a version of like what we want to do in terms of speed work to warm ourselves up. So we've got our marches, our A to C skips, our switches, we've got our high knees, our heel lifts, our toe pops, right? We've got our jumps, we've got our bounds, we've got our high steps, right? We've got our quick starts, that's what we call a tap and go. And then here's our menu of speed and explosion and agility work. We can talk about our starts, our 10-yard bursts, our 20-yard sprints. If we want to test top speed, our flying 10s, our flying 20s, our flying 40s, trying to see how fast you can get. Our 30, 40, 30 tempo runs. That's a great thing for long speed, right? We're gonna work a hard stride at about 80% for 30, full go for 40 yards, and then we're gonna tamp it back down for the last 30. We're gonna test how quickly you get to your top speed and how you decelerate as well. We've got speed endurance drills. Our 10, 15, 20-second drill. If you're a track and field guy, you probably know that as like your 50-second, your 55-second test. You just get on the track, whistle blows, you go. And when the second whistle blows, however far you got, we're gonna measure how you were moving off of that, right? That's a speed endurance thing for us. Our 50, our 100-yard, our 150-yard long shuttles, our speed endurance tests. And then obviously you've got your 40-yard dashers, you've got your 20s, you've got your 10s, you've got your 100s, and all the agility work that we can do. You can kind of borrow a lot of the stuff they do at the combine are actually great training mechanisms to test your agility. from a scheme approach, and we're getting to the end here, and then I want to hear some of your guys' feedback, is players first for me with scheme. It's players first, and it's identity, right? Those are the most important things. I'm not gonna walk in the door and ask a kid who comes up to my hip to go take on a block in the day gap. It's silly. Now, if the kid is a dog, I had a linebacker here in 2018, named was Chris Jennings. I mean, that kid was about in my belly button. And he would go blow anything up. Josh Buchanan, Coach Buck, was our starting free safety in 2019. Missed the first 6 weeks of the season, and when he showed up, in spite of being the shortest and smallest starter that we had on defense, led our team in tackles per game. So with him, and we're playing cover 3, dude, if you see run, I trust that you can go play run. And I trust that if it's play action, you can get to where you need to get to. So everything that we do, we're going to be able to adapt to feature our players and their unique skill sets to be the best of themselves. We talked a little bit about identity when we're going over our practice plan. And there is a non-negotiable expectation, not of players, but of coaches, that we are not doing our job. If we get to Saturday morning and we're watching film and we're saying, we know that our wide receiver is a better athlete than their corner, and we didn't give him 10 to 12 opportunities to go show that. We are not satisfied if we know that the team that we play against is a run-first team, and we're not loading up the box and trying to make plays in the backfield. Those are going to be unacceptable, non-negotiable things to move the staff, so you can trust that whatever you see on the sideline, if it's a problem for you, trust that it's never getting by me. I have enough experience in this sport. I usually can pick up on what we need to do, and I plan to make sure that we are aggressively attacking whatever shortcomings we have to address them so we can get back to being successful if we're not. So for me, with offense, you hear balance all the time, right? The same way you hear aggression all the time. Balance to me is not 50% run and 50% pass. Ideally, sure. I mean, you guys watch the best of the best do it in the league and in college football. Very rarely you strike a 50-50 balance. Balance to me is attacking every area of the field and getting the ball in your best playmaker's hands in every area of the field and having a plan of attack to do it. That's what the screens are for. That's what the play actions are for. That's what the RPOs are for. That's what the deep shots are for. That's what the trick plays are for. That's what your core runs and your core passes are for. We are going to spread it out. Pistol, shotgun base. We're going to have a comprehensive staff to add to make sure we have a downhill run game even though we're in the spread. And we're going to utilize the spread for what it's great for. Just try to force defenses to have to make tough decisions on whether or not you're going to play the box and try to stop the run, play the perimeter and try to stop the pass. We're a zone blocking scheme. I feel like that's the easiest way to get offensive linemen onboarded, right? Continuity is a big thing and it's easier to do from a zone perspective to me because you can do a lot of work in terms of zone blocking without having to have pads on. We could walk out on the field right now with cleats. I could take 5 of you pair top right now on the field in your tennis shoes and we could talk about outside zone. As long as you're working in concert, we could go relate that over and when we put pads on, you will be able to do the same thing. That's kind of my thought as far as zone blocking goes. And we will have specific and key tendency breakers when teams present us problems. And for me, tempo is our greatest tool. I was speaking with Coach Rick about this yesterday, and it's a big belief of mine. To me, the power of tempo isn't just moving fast, right? It's knowing how to modulate so you can take advantage of the defense's weakness. Hey, we just threw a 5-yard hitch. We got 25 yards after the catch. They're stuck in wind. Let's go right now. Let's go right now. Run our best play at tempo. Hey, we've been running no huddle for the last 8 plays. We got the ball to about the 30-yard line. I don't want to go tempo before we take our big shot at the end zone. Let's go hard count. Let's see if we can undress the defense. Meaning they're going to show, okay, here's the rotation. They're going to blitz off of this side. They're showing press here. They're showing off here. Oh, this corner is kind of coming up late a little bit, but he doesn't want to come out the game. Let's adjust now and go attack that guy. All of those things I think will be a tool of ours through the way that we practice tempo, and that's also going to help our conditioning and practice, right? Tempo is something we practice. I've never seen a good hurry up, no huddle team not practice at that rate of speed, and we plan to do that in all that we do. And if we do that, that means less time that we have to spend at the end of practice running gassers, right? Doing all the shuttles and all these other things, right? If we're doing it at the right tempo in practice, guys are getting better and getting conditioned. Defensively, I mentioned the Texans, right? To me, that's kind of what I know. Andy Avalos, when I was working with him as a linebackers coach, came from Boise State where he played, and they were one of that. They were one of the few teams that were kind of at the advent of the 4-2-5. And the reason why you ran the 4-2-5 is to get your linebacker downhill and not have to sacrifice what's happening on the back end. And we plan to teach it that way, right? What we do from a coverage shell perspective is going to be based on our players, but it's all going to be with attacking in mind. I don't play quarters to just back everybody up and give up a bunch of stuff underneath. We play quarters so we can go jump on routes in intermediate areas and force quarterbacks to hold the ball so that our pass rushers can go affect the pocket. When we play cover three, it's not just to be sitting here patting our feet in our spots. So that way our linebackers can go big gaps the way that they need to. So that way our run support is there, so that way we can show up in the running game. And when we blitz, we're not blitzing for blitz's sake, right? We have scouted out our opponent, we know their tendencies. If they run to the tight end side, we're gonna blitz on the tight end side. Or we'll blitz away and slant to the tight end side, so that's what their run scheme is. Everything is gonna be done with intention. And the biggest bullet point to me, the two biggest, is that we're gonna create a numbers advantages where offenses wanna attack us most. Coach Buck can speak to that, right? We were a cover three team, we get him, we can start mixing it up. Play a little bit of 2 deep, play a little bit of quarters. We can mix up looks that way. We did the same at Mount Carmel. And the last bullet point to me, and the one that I love to sell to defensive guys, and I'm sure if you've coached at the youth level, high school level, if you've played at the college level, high school level, you guys can all attest to this. First couple spring practices, you walk out, the wide receiver line, it's 25 people deep, right? Because everybody wants the ball. Everybody wants the ball. I get it. The running back room is 9 players deep because everybody wants the ball. And I used to make a joke as a defensive coordinator that I was the Grim Reaper, right? Because the second I see that tight end go drop that pass, they become everything about playing defensive edge. And do they ever want to do that right out the gate? Usually no, unless they have experience in it. But here's my sales pitch to them. Trust that I know this my scheme and I know our opponents well enough to get you in positions where you can just be cut loose and go be aggressive. And you can bring the hurt to your opponent, right? I want to get to third down, and my defensive ends are jumping on the field. Get it. Can't wait. Because it's 3rd and 8. We know what their pass is. We know what their protection scheme is. And here's how we plan to attack it. I want our linebackers, our best blitzers, to know. Oh, coach, on Monday, hey, coach, you're going to have another mugged up package, right? You're going to have a special blitz package for me, right? Hey, coach, can we get a dime? I like playing in the slot. Quarterbacks don't see me. I can go jump a route that way. That's how we want to approach what we're doing schematically. From a staffing perspective, in terms of expectations, moving from left to right, I expect all my staff to be loyal. That is the #1 process when I'm vetting these guys, right? And people can mistake blind compliance for loyalty. I don't expect everybody to just be in here waiting for marching orders. I'm hiring adults, people who have their own experiences in football, people who have their own views and philosophies on what makes for a great coach and great football player. But understand that at the end of the day, when we leave the coach's office, when we walk out onto the practice field, when we walk off the bus on game day, it is a unified front at all times. Everybody has clarity on what the roles are, what the expectations are, what my needs are, how they can have my back, and how I have theirs. So that is going to be the top priority of filling this staff. It's a non-negotiable to me that people are prepared. The answer can never be, I don't know. I don't ever want you guys feeling like you don't know exactly what we're doing based off our identity. You don't have to know a lick of football, but I want when you guys are sitting in the stands watching us play to say, they did that week 1 and it worked, and they did it again and it worked again. We must just be really good at that. They must practice that a lot, right? That's how I want you guys to feel when you watch your sons play. We're gonna be organized, we're gonna be an efficient operation, we're gonna treat everybody with the respect, dignity, and honor they deserve. I don't know if I'm projecting this, my personality, but I'm very straightforward with football, man. I don't joke around with this kind of stuff. If a kid ever has a question, why am I not playing? Why'd you put me at safety instead of corner? Why'd you move me to the slot instead of being on the outside? Why'd you ask me not to play quarterback? Why'd you ask me to play quarterback? Why'd I move from tackle to guard? Hey coach, am I gonna be on the lower level or am I gonna be on varsity this year? I'm never running from having an uncomfortable conversation because I don't assume that it's uncomfortable. I mean, the truth is liberating, man. I can always be straightforward with our players because they know, and I know that I can do that with them because they're gonna know from the beginning that I'm approaching this with them in mind. It's not about me. My football playing days are long behind me. If I put on that gear right now and I try to go play, I would not get to the end of the practice. I know that much about myself. This ain't for me, okay? And I'm here to pour this into this community. Because this is not my first time here. I was here in 2018 and 2019, and this community wrapped its arms around me then. And if I know of the parents today the way I knew of the parents then, I know that as long as you guys know that I am here with the explicit intent of developing your players into better athletes, better students, and better members of the Bonita community, that we're good. So if there's ever any questions on your end about what we're doing, what we plan to do, why the schedule is set up a certain way, know that you can always reach out to me. And know that the answer probably already exists somewhere, right? I'm not going to leave you guys in the dark. I don't plan to do anything last minute. You're not going to have to wait until Monday morning to know what the practice schedule is for the week. Right? We're going to get ahead of this as much as possible. That way you guys have clarity and you know where your sons are. And we're going to get them back to you in a better condition than what they were when you dropped them off in the morning. That is my goal. We're going to have respect for the chain of command and the existing ecosystem on campus. I'm not here to usurp Coach Sue. I'm not here to usurp Dr. Salazar. I'm not here to make the final decisions on anything other than what is specifically detailed within my job as the head football coach of this program, right? And we're working as a collaborative effort at all times. So I know it. I know it's the truth, right? Even though nobody would probably say it to me. There are going to be times where you might have a question for me and just might not know how to reach out to talk to me about it. Know that you can always reach out to Coach Sue. Know that you can always reach out to Dr. Salazar. If you already have a great relationship with Coach Butt, know that you can reach out to Coach Butt, right? And he's going to let me know whatever's going on, and then we can always sit and talk, right? The door is always going to be open to you guys when you need it to be. We're going to develop pride and self-determination. I want the colors that these kids wear to mean something. I want the jersey to mean something. I want the logo to mean something. I want when they go to Plaza Bonita, when they go to the Otay Ranch Town Center, and their peers that they went to Bonita Middle with, and Rancho Del Rey with, or went to elementary school at Hedding or wherever they went, when they meet up again, I want their peers to say, man, I can't believe what you guys are doing at Bonita. Hey, what is it? You guys got a secret sauce? Tell me about Coach Lee. What is he doing? What are you guys doing in the weight room? I want people to feel that way. When you guys are out at your job, and you're dealing with Otay Ranch alum, and Eastlake alums, and whoever else you might come across in San Diego County, because they know that your kid attends here, I want them asking you, hey man, I was on a little winning streak, right? It seems like your kid got a lot stronger over the off season. How do you feel about your coach? I heard you just say that your kid was talking about putting in applications to this sport year and this sport year, right? And he says he wants to go try to play football or he wants to go pursue this, right? And I want you guys to be able to say with pride, every day that my son comes home and I ask him about football, his face lights up. He can't wait to go to practice even though he's sore. He can't wait to go to the weight room even though he's sore. He can't wait to show up on Saturday for film, even though he's tired after Friday's game. It's a pride and a self-determination thing that we're going to demand of these guys at all times. And then for the parent, for our players, I'm always going to encourage them to be themselves so long as they are pursuing their best selves in everything that they do. I don't ask for robots as football players. Self-expression is a big thing. Self-expression is a big thing. This is one of the few forums that you have as a young person through your extracurriculars where you can kind of really start to carve out who you are and what makes you unique amongst your peers and amongst your community. And I want this to be an expression of that, right? I want, when you guys are watching your sons play, that it feels like you're watching your kid. Not just a Bonita Vista football player, but that's my son. And I can tell by the swagger he walks out on the field, by how he's talking, how he's communicating. I remember my dad and my mom, his wife, they always joke with me on Fridays once I got to varsity. Like, who is this Deontay? At home, all you do is just do your homework or just go back to your room and hang out. And then you get off the football field, and it's different. It's like you're 10 feet tall all of a sudden. That wasn't by magic. Because I had a great linebackers coach developing me. I had a great head coach developing me. And I found myself in it. Then I started to pour myself into it, and then I realized I'm not just a football player. Being a football player is a reflection of who I am. And now I get to carry that out into my career field. I got to carry that into my studies, so on and so forth, and we want to do this with our program. I'll kind of breeze over from our staff perspective because Coach Sue kind of talked about it. We're going to be comprehensive in our approach. Young guys, experienced guys, former head coaches, people with aspirations to be future head coaches. All of those things I want here because those are the people who are going to work hard. Those are the people who are going to be committed to the process. Those are the people who are here for something bigger than themselves. The same way we ask for our players to be here for reasons bigger than themselves. We can have just kind of a brief breeze over from a levels perspective. When I was here in 2018 and 2019, we fought really hard to have all three levels. It just wasn't really viable. We did novice in 2019, novice varsity in 2019. It was just in the best interest of the program. In an ideal situation, I would love to say in July, you've got 160 kids committed to playing football. We're going to have 50 plus on freshman, JV, and varsity. And if we got it, then we're going to do it that way. And then we will adapt how we practice with our JV team, whether they kick down to work with the freshmen or kick up to work with varsity from there. But if we've only got 90 to 110, and you guys have concerns about, hey, my kid's working too, we're asking too much of these guys. The guys are getting hurt. You guys are concerned in that way. Know that we're not going to bang our heads up against the wall when it comes to that. What's in the best interest of these kids is being in a position where they can learn the game and develop at a safe, healthy, and challenging, still challenging pace, right? And we're going to try to approach it that way. That's going to be a fluid thing. My job for the next 2 to 3 months is making sure that everybody who looks like they might be interested in football comes and gives it a try, so we can get to 3 level numbers. If it don't work out that way, then we'll be realistic. And if it's got to be novice plus varsity, then that's what it is. If we can get to 3 levels, even better, right? But I want you guys to know that I understand that we're going to have to be fluid in the way that we talk about turnout and what that's going to do in terms of the influence of the levels that we have. And you guys will always be abreast of whatever those plans are. One of the last pieces is that cross-sport participation is going to be a major piece of what makes us successful as a Bonita Vista football program. I want our football players to approach their secondary sports with the same vigor and commitment that they do to football, and vice versa. If a kid's usually a basketball kid and he's trying football out, I'm going to ask their coach, hey, how does he work? And I'm going to hold them to that standard. If you're a baseball kid, how you work field and grounders, how you work in the cages, how you work on the mound is the standards you set and what I expect of you as a football player. And how you manage your school, extracurricular, and your rest of your life balance when you're in your primary sport, I'm going to ask them to do that when they're in football, and vice versa if football is their primary sport and they're trying something else out. And our staff will always be 100% bought into that. I was talking to the wrestling coach earlier today, and I let them know the sun does not rise and set on football. We happen to probably be the most public-facing program because of the size and the numbers, but the sun does not rise and set on this thing, right? I want everybody to know that we all pull this weight together, and I'm here to be a part of what's happening here, not the only thing that's happening here. As far as goals, we're going to talk about turning out more players, no academic ineligibles, winning our rivalry games. We're going to try to win league. We want to win a playoff game in year 1. By year 3, we want to have a strong feeder program. So that way we can have 3 levels, right? We want to turn out even more kids so we can have a freshman JV and varsity. We want to have a fully functional and operational, very efficient, standard-setting fundraising procedure through our booster organization. And that's going to be in collaboration with you guys. We want to talk about appearing in the CIF final within 3 years. Again, I don't run from the call to greatness. I'm committed to it. Championships can be won here. I was telling Coach Sue, one of my favorite things about having this job is that every day I walk into the coaching office, I have to see 2015 painted on that wall. It's a great reminder that it can happen here. It's a great reminder that it can happen here. And it drives me every day to make sure that we're reaching that goal. And by year 5, I want our stadium to be the most fearsome place to play in the South Bay, if not San Diego County as a whole. Every time somebody sees that Bonita Vista's on the schedule, they've got to come here, man, I know that the stands are going to be packed, they're going to be loud, they're going to have all of their traditions on display, and they're going to play the best brand of football that there is in the county. I want to be a multiple-time champion, and I want to establish a culture, a football foundation, and a community that can exist and be a standard bearer for everything that's happening in this conference, within this district, within this county, hopefully as one of the best in the state. That is my goal. The last piece of this, before I open the floor to you guys, is just talking about just kind of like the tacit agreement, right? The social contract, being a good teammate. First, it requires a growth mentality, right? That comes back to show up on time, try your hardest, have a positive attitude. What you put your name behind matters. It has to matter to you. So that way, I know when you're a representative of this program, it matters as much to you as it does when you're doing it on an individual basis. You show up for yourself by showing up for your teammates, and vice versa, right? And that's going to be an expectation for all of our players. And then the last bullet point for this is that accountability to me is a 3-part cycle. You start by holding yourself to the highest standard possible. And in doing so, when you meet it, that gives you permission to hold your peers to the highest standard possible. And when they're able to meet that, that gives them permission to do the same thing to you. And that comes back to this culture thing being reinforced from coaches to players to community, back and forth the entire way through. That's the way that we want to approach it. Discipline and character are the foundational traits of toughness to me, being a great student athlete. Everything that they do off the field, we expect them to do it at the same vigor, commitment, discipline, positive attitude that we ask of them when they're in the weight room and when they're on the field. I was telling the players earlier, whatever happens away from practice, I'm going to treat like it happened at practice. However we handle it, if it was a practice level issue, is how we're going to handle it when it's happening away from the football program. Nobody gets to miss a class and they show up to practice and think it's all good. I don't operate that way, right? And by the same token, if you can make it to school, if you can get through a school day, unless there is something that's an emergency, unless you guys communicate something to me, I expect to see these players out on the field, giving their best. Now, if they need an extra 15 minutes to go address something with class, please go see your instructor. But once you put that helmet on, the standard is high because we're chasing a lot of things. We're going to have academic supports in place. I'm going to talk to them about how to advocate for themselves in an academic capacity. We're going to talk about personal conduct on and off the field and how that can affect our perception, right? And in our on-field conduct, certain things, right, when it comes to your dress, as long as it's within NFHS and CIF guidelines, I'm not here to police every last bit of it. Now, do you get to be A.J. Brown on the Eagles and show up with neon pink cleats if nobody else is wearing them? Probably not. You're probably asking. But at least have the conversation, right? Some of the kids are asking, hey, what about my own helmet? And I'll tell them the same thing I've told any player. As long as you got the sticker on it to let me know that it's safe and it's been certified, and as long as it's the right hand tone, so that way you don't look crazy next to your teammates, I'm not going to cause a stink about it, right? That's what I'm asking you guys. If you guys want to front the cost for it, be my guest. And we can talk about from safety procedures and safety guidelines what the best, most state-of-the-art technology is, if that is a concern of yours when it comes to equipment. In the weight room, I was telling the players, it's not Crocs time. It's not slides time. I don't need to see anybody's toes. I don't need to see the brand of your socks. I want to see ankle support, right? I want to see heel support. Some of the things that we're asking for, I don't need a guy rolling an ankle. I don't need you pulling a groin or a hamstring because your foot slips mid-lift, right? We're going to talk about your attire. We'll get to the spirit packs and all that, I'm sure. I'll be meeting with the Blast Athletics rep before the end of this week to talk about how they can continue to be an asset for our program. And obviously that'll be a collaborative effort with you guys as parents as well. And I think in the weight room, and we didn't talk about this earlier, but it's a big deal to me, we're going to teach guys how to spot and how to be safe in the weight room. I cannot count on my two hands the amount of times that something's almost gone wrong. And there is no worse feeling than seeing a kid who needs to dump a squat and guys aren't in position. There's no worse feeling than seeing a guy struggling on bench and there's not somebody there to help him. That is an expectation. That's about having your teammates back. It's obviously about doing things the right and safe way. And we're going to do the same thing with our technique on the field. We will have obviously a matrix and a cascading effect of consequences if these things can't be met. Then we have captain leadership here, right? To me, being a captain is a little bit different than being a leader. You can be a leader without stepping on the field at all, right? That's an attitude thing. That's an approach to practice. That's an attention to detail thing. That's an accountability thing. Captains, to me, are the best reflections of what we're doing as a program. I was telling the players, I don't know if they really understood the joke I was trying to make, right? Being named a captain is not being appointed a Supreme Court justice. You don't get to wear that for life. You have a standard to uphold. And if you don't, and we find somebody else that's a better example, then we're going to have a conversation about why things are changing, right? And then how you can earn that back. In terms of game day, coin toss captain, we're going to have a rotating cast. That way every senior gets an opportunity, as many players in the program as we can, get an opportunity to go out and be a part of that. Everybody just enjoys it, it's cool, do the coin toss, the whole thing, right? So we want everybody to be involved. Our juniors and seniors will be assigned freshmen and sophomores, kind of as a buddy system, to kind of guide them through the process, making sure they're getting to class on time, making sure they're taking care of their academic support, making sure they're in the weight room on time, checking in with them, right? Making sure that they feel good about what they're doing, making sure that we don't have any gaps in our program where players feel like they're not getting tended to the way they need to, or that people aren't looking or paying attention or evaluating them. We want them to know at all times that we all have their back as a collective unit. We're also going to have a senior player council. I was talking to some of the rising seniors about that. Some traditions we want to keep, and if we have an opportunity to set new ones that can last long after they graduate, then let's do it. I want everybody who wears these helmets, who wears these uniforms, to feel like they have their stamp on what became of Barron's football, not only for 2026, but going forward. Some of this stuff is kind of a conversation that we'll have in the future. Obviously, we have a great opportunity through BBX to kind of use them as an appendage of the program and for us to kind of feed into what's already happening on campus. I know I'm talking to some of the coaches, some of you guys as parents have been involved in terms of taking pictures and preparing stuff. As you can see by the PowerPoint, I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy. So if we got graphic design folks, please reach out to me. Not my area of expertise, all right? I went for writing. I didn't do the digital media thing. I studied journalism, okay? So if you guys are strong in those facets, please let me know and we can collaborate on them. Right, and we want to start talking about fundraising. Obviously, those will be different opportunities for us to speak. I know as a program, we want to have things like clinics for youth football and for moms and dads to come out and learn what your kid is doing out on the field, so you get a clear idea of that. We want to use combines and showcases, not just to bring the community in, but it's a great fundraising opportunity for us as well. Talk a little bit about Blast Athletics. We want to continue to use those as an asset for us too. And that's kind of the deepest overview I can give to you guys right now. We can kind of brush over the calendar if you guys are interested at a different point, but I'll leave you guys with the same message before I turn it over to you guys to ask questions that I told to the players. I'm dead serious about what can happen here. I tried to impart that to Coach Sue, tried to impart that to Dr. Salazar, every player that stopped by the office to shake my hand. I want to make sure when I'm looking them in the eyes that they know I'm not joking around about what we can accomplish with football. Nor am I joking around about what my expectations are for them as players and as student athletes. It's a no cutting corners type of approach here. We're going to push guys. We're going to try to find those areas of discomfort so that way they can overcome them, right? It's not just to push a button. I want them to know that at their hardest moments, if we lose a game, if something goes wrong, they don't get their max, right? You struggle with something in class. I want them to know through football, through the anecdotes and stories and memories that build through the sport, that when the sun rises tomorrow, all that is another opportunity to take another hack at it. And just keep taking swings, right? Keep taking swings. Last thing I'll say on that note is, Phil Jackson obviously is a very influential person, right? He's got all the Buddhism, Taoism, and all those things, right? But the one statement I've heard from Phil Jackson that always walked with me, right? In good times, you chop wood and carry water. In bad times, you chop wood and carry water. Everything to me is about the work. It's about not being content. So no matter what is happening, 10-0 or otherwise, you guys can count on the fact that I would be here in the morning, with a smile on my face, to greet your students, to greet your kids. We're going to talk about our game plan. I guess the greatest game plan that's ever been developed. I'm going to talk about how they can be implemented in our game plan to be the best football player ever. And we're going to go try and see what the result is. We're going to love these kids up. We're going to push them to be better versions of themselves tomorrow than what they are today. And we're going to work with you guys as parents as well to make sure that we're a good reflection of this community. I appreciate you guys for your time. I hope that some of you guys have questions, because I'm all ears. In any event, again, thank you guys for partnering with your time. And I'm really, really excited about what we can do every year.
Thank you, Coach Lee. I don't know about you, I'm ready to run through a wall. I'm good for 3 plays, Coach. 3 plays. Maybe 2.
All I've got to.
This is, first of all, Coach Lee, I want you to know, when we had our meeting earlier a few weeks ago, I can tell you this parent group, this community is committed. They are committed. All we ask is you let them know what you need them to do, and they are behind you 100%. I can tell you that. What I also want everyone to know is this next session or segment, we want you to ask questions, but please keep your questions to the future on the expectations, on what we're moving forward and building here at Bonita Vista High School. And we have that, we want to have a little town hall, so please, I gave Coach Lee 2 bottles of water so that he can answer all your questions, so we can be here as long as you need. All right? Thank you very much, and please step up to the podium and please ask your questions, everybody. Thank you.
Coach, I'm very excited, everything you said, so very pumped up. It's refreshing to see the commitment and everything off that. Going back to all the weightlifting and all that stuff, is there an opportunity to try to get some of these boys in there before school, get them working out on that versus after school, where they can use the, having homework and other things they have going on with them? But I know the varsity wrestling team, they get in early. It'd be nice to see if we can get these boys in here early so there's no excuses.
we're on the same page with that. We've been having continuous conversations about different avenues in which we can attack it, right? The first priority for me is trying to find a way to get a team sports period added to the course catalog so that when we can get kids registered, right? And in that way, we don't have to fight any of the extra battles to make sure guys show up because they're already enrolled, right? So that's priority one. If it's not feasible within the turn of the new year, then yeah, I do plan on us having an opportunity to get in the weight room. You know, and I've been talking with some of the players, and some of their feedback is guys will show up as long as they know that they're expected to be there. And it's my expectation that we're going to get that communicated to our players so we can get a jump start on that process. I'm not traveling outside of the city for the holidays. So come after, New Year's weekend, January 5th, as long as the gates are unlocked and I can get access to it, and Coach Shu and Dr. Salazar don't have an issue with it, we can start opening up the weight room then. We can start introducing our lifts and how we plan to approach our winter conditioning for the guys who are not multi-sport athletes. And for the guys who are multi-sport athletes, as long as they have clearance from their coaches, I don't mind if they're in there as well. But yeah, I would like to attack this as early as possible.
Thank you.
No problem.
Well, speech there, Coach. A great introduction. My only question is, how will we be able to get access to the calendar, or when would that be put out for the projected dates and timeline for the guys?
So as I was saying, I'm going to meet with the Blast athletics representative on Friday morning at 9. From there, I'm going to ask to get all the admin credentials sent in. So I'm sure that all you guys are pretty much centralized on there already. Once I get on there, I'm going to put out the calendar, right? Some of that's tentative. We're going to have to talk about field use, times and stuff that is available, and we're going to communicate that at our earliest date. What I have written out now is a projected way for us to kind of utilize what's available within the bells, and then if we have something after school, we'll kind of talk through that as well. But yeah, the moment I can get on Blast Athletics, I would like to get all that information out to you guys, and that should be before the end of the week. That's my expectation.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Hello. So I know that you're trying to do like that 3-tier system, freshman against varsity, with a projection of 100 to 160 kids. How are you gonna be able to have those many kids in the weight room?
So to me, it's about having staggered times, right? It's having a lower level time and then varsity time, right? So let's say in season, we're gonna look for 3-hour blocks, especially if we don't get the team sports period, if it's gotta be maybe from 4 to 7, or if we do get if we can get them, in PE for the last block of the day, and we're able to kind of extend or kind of steal some time in that way, then I would love to do that as well. We're going to stagger it so that way our varsity guys can get in early, get their lifting, get prepared for the day. Lower level guys will follow in right behind as the varsity guys are hitting the field. And then once our varsity guys are kind of mid-practice, that's when our lower level team will start to add in. And that way, to me, we can kind of share in our field use in a way that's efficient, weight room in a way that's efficient as well. That's my game plan for that.
And then for as far as like the training on how to lift properly, or like the weight, like we need to go up or down, are you gonna be kind of in control? Like you're gonna watch every single kid and
Yeah,
then kind
absolutely.
of go through there? Okay.
Absolutely. If it's through team sports or a PE class, obviously our PE teachers would have to be in there to lead instruction, but they would all be taking direction from me for our football related stuff, right? And because I have experience in all this, we can talk about the right way to power clean, right? Where to position the bar, how to work on getting the wrist flexibility so it lands right, getting the elbows tightened through, right? We'll talk about squatting, proper squat depth, right? Working your hip crease below your knees, because it's actually safer on your ACLs and your posterior chain to work that deep, right? Versus quarter squatting and half squatting, right? We're going to talk a lot about how to do rows properly. We're going to talk about how to do lunges properly, all those different things. I plan to be at the head of that, and they need to hear from me as well as how to spot and how to kind of manage the way that you work through weights as well. All of it's going to be mine.
Okay, awesome. Can I join? Can I join Monday morning?
Thank you.
Hey, Coach.
How we doing?
Congratulations again. Welcome to the VP family. Like Mike was saying, we're excited. I'm just myself. My name is Jerome. I do have a son that plays football here. Again, Merry Christmas to all.
Yeah.
All right. You answered pretty much every question that I wanted to answer. discipline, off and on football field. But my question to you is, again, you probably went over this with culture. Can you give me more in detail what kind of culture you are trying to hope or build with Bonita Valley, Bonita Vista, in 2020, for the next year and years to come?
So I think the first thing, right, I think a lot of this kind of comes down to some of the philosophical points we were talking about, right? It's first getting across to them the power of showing up, being on time, being where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there. Then it's about being able to handle instruction, right? Knowing how to learn. Okay, coach is telling me this for X reason, and it's on me to make sure that they know both what to do and why they're doing it. It's going to be kind of detailed out within our guidelines, right? What happens when you're late, right? 2 late, we count as 1 absence. We're going to have a cascading effect for what that means, right? If you have an absence, you miss a half. More than 1 absence, I can't play you Friday, right? It's not me being mean. If you miss Monday and Tuesday, you missed our first and second down game plan, and you missed our plan for what we learned to do on different field zones and our special teams install. How can you be a good player under those conditions? Same thing with the summer and spring ball, right? If you're a baseball player, I don't expect you to be at 7 on 7. But if you're not, and you don't show up, you are inherently telling me where your head is at, right? And we're going to have different ways to attack it. I'm not here to be draconian, right? I'm not an iron fist type of guy. I'm going to try to find interventions as often as possible. So first, I'm going to reach out to you guys. Hey, did you know that your son didn't attend, right? Was there something that just wasn't communicated? If the answer is yes, then I can talk to our players and say, hey, you know when you left home this morning that mom and dad told you that you got to go pick up your sister, or you're working at In-N-Out, you got to go make your shift. I need to know that. And it's on you to tell me, right? That's your responsibility as somebody who's going to develop into a young adult. If it's, no, I thought he was at practice, or I didn't know that he went home early. Now I need to have a conversation with the player. Hey, first warning, we might probably have some kind of correction run, right? Something to kind of get that addressed, if this is what happens when you miss. Past that, now is probably the time for us as parents and coaches to sit and speak about what is happening and what we need to do to find some recourse here so I can get some support from home. And if it continues on behind that, then we're going to have to start talking about what your level of involvement is going to be, right? Whether or not you're going to be a positive reflection of what we're asking for Bears. The last thing I want to do is kick guys off the team. The last thing I want to do is suspend players indefinitely. The last thing I want to do is tell players that they can't play. But obviously we've got to have something in place to let them know that there are guardrails. Because there are going to be guys who show up every day and expect their teammates to be there every day as well. We're going to try to get that imparted as much as possible.
Thanks, Coach.
Welcome.
Welcome, Coach PH.
Thank you.
I have a question. How can, as parents, support you and your that was
Broke it. I do now.
Feel him.
I'm not saying it works. There we go.
Hello. There we go.
I got you.
Welcome to the BBH program. My question is, as parents, how can we support the program to be successful, not just with our students, but be complete?
I want to
What
do
are
things
the
like
expectations?
I want to do things like this as often as we can. Right? I want to see your guys' capacity to be here. And we want to sit and talk so that way you're abreast of what's going on in your guys' lives as parents, what your guys' priorities are. We can talk about what our priorities are as a football program, talk about how we want to attack that, right? Fundraising. I've heard a little bit about parents being involved in the concession stand. If it's a priority for you guys to continue to do that, I want you to do it because it's a help for the program. And I want to talk about how I can help, right? It's not just about you saying, hey, we would like to do X, Y, and Z, and then I turn my back on the process. I want to know how we can be an asset as a staff, right? If we want to do team meals, do you want to have it here? Can somebody accommodate it? What do we need to do? What do you need from me in that respect, right? And a lot of that I think is just going to come with communication. So if anybody wants to get a jump start on that, please don't leave without getting my phone number and my email. Please, is what I would ask. And then the moment that I can get these login admin credentials on blast and I can start getting everybody's emails and the like, we can get a kickstart on that communication. But stuff like this, if we can do it every month, I'd love to. If we can do it every month, I'd love to. If that's too much and you guys would rather kind of break it up, fine. If some people know, if you have parents that are great at translating and getting the information across to others, and we want to do it in a more kind of truncated manner, we can do that too. I want to know what your guys' capacity is to show up for this. I don't mind. I get paid to talk and rant. So if you guys want to sit here and listen to me drone on, I'm more than happy to do so. Just let me know how often you guys need to see my face, because I will make myself available to you at all times.
Hi, Coach. Welcome. I guess I'm gonna be a mom right now and ask you, what will be, because you know the training is gonna be tough. Eating, what they should be eating, what they should be drinking before, you know, the lifting and all that, and then the after.
Yeah.
How they need to take care of their bodies so they don't get stiff and then injured.
That'll be part of our team meetings. That'll be part of when we start introducing our strength and conditioning program. Healthy fats, right? Lean proteins, the right kind of carbs, right? The complex carbs in your body. The power of hydration, right? What that does for young people, right? Every teenager should probably drink like 3 to 4 bottles more of water wherever they're at. They probably need to double their intake. We can talk about why that's important in terms of injury prevention. I'm gonna make sure that you're alert. I'm gonna talk a lot about the power of sleep, right? Making sure guys are getting their hours at night so their body has an opportunity to recover so they can show up the next day being the best version of themselves. And then we can talk more about specific things, right? If you want to talk about supplements and what helps and what doesn't, right? I can be a resource in that way as well. Some things are necessary, some things are more for vanity's sake, some things you don't really need unless you're pursuing very specific goals. If you guys have questions as parents, right, then I have no problem kind of talking through that process as well. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about proper dieting, right? Dropping the hot Cheetos, then a little something a little bit better for you, right? Dropping the California burrito, at least sometimes, right? I'm just as guilty, I'm sure, as some of our players. But just making sure that we do this stuff responsibly. We'll talk about how food, how hydration, and how sleep are all part of the process of building the best student athlete possible. So yeah, I'll definitely have that information prepared for you guys.
Well, Coach, with academics being so important, I know there's usually a gap between school and when practices are. Is there a place that the kids can go together and be able to work on school so that when they come home, they're not stuck with that?
That's a game plan. That's what I want to use Mr. Wiggs. That's what I want to use to see Wiggs and the team tutoring program for, is to give them an opportunity to go use an apparatus that already exists and is successful. When I was an assistant here in 2018 and 2019, we used it and it was a major help. And I want to continue to lean on what works, right? I'm not here to fix things that aren't broken. I just want to utilize them to the best of their capacity. So if there is a gap, right, if they get dismissed at 3:45 and we're not starting practice until 4:30, 4:45, that's a great opportunity to go get in front of your instructor, right? Go talk to them. Hey, this is the midterm, this is the team project. If you need some time to go meet in the library to talk with your peers about what you're working towards. If you need to make revisions on your essay before you turn in your second draft, whatever we need to do academically, we're gonna make sure that the time exists. And if it gets set up to where we have field just between 4 to 6, 4 to 7, whatever the case may be, then I'm gonna make sure that we still carve out time at least once a week where everybody can go get their academic needs addressed, right? So we're gonna attack that, we're gonna prioritize that and make sure it's always available.
What's up, Coach?
How we doing?
Yeah, I was just wondering, we're gonna practice on like fundamentals, like as far as tackling. Like my son been playing forever, but some kids like they can't tackle nothing. It's like we need to really work on wrapping, fundamentals, and then I want to do like fun team things to keep the kids like together, you know.
Yeah.
Like and
Yeah, I can answer both questions. Number one, yes, right? That's the best way to avoid head and neck injuries is knowing how to tackle properly. So we're going to talk about heads up tackling. We're going to talk about, the roll tackles, all the Seahawks stuff that's out there, right? All the Hawk tackle stuff. We're going to talk about how to use the right kind of rugby techniques, right? 'Cause not everything is a one-for-one, right? You can't translate everything one-for-one, but you can borrow some of those techniques in terms of, making your strike zone the thighs, and how to run your feet through contact, how to wrap properly, right? Some of the things I've talked about as a linebacker coach is when you wrap, you want to finish like you're reading the book on the backside, right? Then I want to get a clutch. If I can get to the back of his collar, that means I've got control of the body. If you're for tackling low. It's not that I tackle low and I drop my crown and then drop the crown of my helmet and then whatever happens from there happens. It's about putting my eye through the target. It's still about bringing my legs, right? I talk all the time about how you get to control the body, the physics of making a tackle. If I make a tackle at the thighs and I lock up his knees, I'm making that tackle because he can't escape me now, right? We're gonna talk a lot about how to use your arms, how to use your head properly, right? Making sure you have a neutral neck on contact, so that way we're not caught in these compromising positions where injuries can happen. All those things are things that I've learned, right? All the best techniques. Even if I didn't know it, it would be unacceptable for me to not have an answer for you guys because all the resources exist in the world. And I've studied them, we've worked on them, everything from the right way to ankle tackle to making a profile tackle head up in the hole, right? We're gonna talk about all the right ways to do this. That comes back to teaching the game the right way so they have an understanding of what we're asking them to do and why we're asking them to do it. You guys have a-
If we have multi-sport athletes, and you start the program and they're unable to make some of your activities, should they come and talk to you and let you know that they're interested, but they can't make everything or even anything at all?
Yes.
So you know that they're interested, and you don't think that, oh, they're just not gonna show up.
Yeah, absolutely. If somebody is already caught in another sport, whether it's their primary sport or otherwise, and they know they're interested in football, please have them come reach out, come by the coach's office and shake my hand and let me know. Like, hey, coach, plan to be a football player. Baseball season doesn't end until May. I'll see you then, right? We're a good baseball team. We might make a deep playoff run. I might not be out there until we really get to summer conditioning. That's fine, right? If it's track or whatever, and you start getting towards league and the end of it, and hey, coach, I can start making some 7-on-7s, so I'm gonna be done with my events. I'm still gonna ask him, hey, go talk to Coach Peterson first. Let him know that this is what you plan to do. Get clearance from the guy who's in season first. Have him come talk to me if there's any discrepancies, and then we'll put together a plan of action, right? If you're a basketball guy and you know you're gonna be traveling in the summer, please come talk to me, right? If you're on your AAU team, personally, do I want you out there for everything? Yes, right? Because football is getting close to being in season. But it is what it is. If you're paying for them to be in a travel ball team, please just come talk to me and communicate. I'll be understanding, right? I'll be understanding. I just want to know, so that way I'm not assuming that guys who aren't showing up because they're not interested. That's really all I would say.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
I got a question, and I don't know if you've addressed it yet, but you talked about multiple ways of preparation for the game, right? Multiple aspects of the game. I also feel that something we haven't talked about, something we didn't really do last year, I wish we would have done more of. What is the expectation on Saturdays for the kids as far as in the classroom work on X's and O's, watching film? I think we learned a lot about the game, who we are as a player, and how we are as a team by watching film. We didn't bring boys in last year. I'm kind of curious as to what your philosophy is.
I'd like to. I've experienced it on both ends, right? I've experienced it on both ends. When I was here in 2018 and 2019, we did come together on weekends to go review the film. Honestly, it's a great way to steal a little bit of time, right? So that we're efficient between Monday and Friday. So I'd like to do that. It also gives us time as a staff to kind of sit, decompress, flush the game that was, start preparing for the game that's coming. So yeah, I would like to do that on Saturday mornings. That also gives us an opportunity to talk to players after the game. Hey, I know you mentioned that your shoulder was sore. Where are you at with it today? Right? How's your hamstring feeling? How's your ankle feeling? While you're here, let's just go get some ice bags, and then we can get the recovery process started for you as early as possible. So there are a lot of different ways we can utilize it, and I would like to on Saturdays, if that's a possibility.
Coach Lee, I have to tell you, these parents were a lot more vocal a couple of weeks ago. I think you were so thorough. You were so thorough that you left us speechless. I would like to thank everyone for coming out. I know it's midweek. It's getting late. First of all, Coach Lee, welcome to the Bonita Vista community. Parents, thank you for your support. Thank you for everything you've done. We're all going to pull the rope in the same direction, and we're on a mission here. Thank you again. Happy holidays, and we look forward to talking to you all soon.